So here we have 3 Splinter Cell Chaos Theory limited collector's edition steelbooks. I picked up all 3. I got a good deal on all 3, actually, all of them together. But there has been a lot of talk lately in the collector world about specifically what I'm showing you right now, if the camera will focus, about rust on steelbooks and if there's a way to mitigate it. I won't show you in this video how to fix that. What you actually need to do is cover the whole thing in WD-40. What I will show you in this video, and I'll make a video showing you the techniques and everything that I recommend. What I will show you in this video, though, is how to remove stickers. So see on the back there's some packing tape residue. Oh, why are you packing tape it? I don't know. They put it in bubble wrap. That's nice to protect the discs. That's always nice, I guess. But I want to show you guys how to remove price stickers from steelbooks. It's not as straightforward as you think it would be, and honestly, I'll show you why. Here's me showing you the packing tape residue. I'll show you why, and it actually is not just, we'll use Heptane. We'll get into that as we get into the video of why I actually prefer GooGone in this instance. So you see we got some GameStop stickers on the front and back. These always kind of frustrated me because people would keep the plastic outer shell on it. So the inside's, perfect. The inside's perfectly fine, but they would keep the plastic shell and they would put onto the plastic shell the price stickers. Just super frustrating. Interesting thing to notice here, the insides are the same. So the insides on these two are exactly the same. Insides on the GameCube one, also exactly the same. Same inserts and everything. They actually made, I believe, 3 kinds of limited collector's edition steelbooks. And they made one for the PS2, which is actually printed on it. I'll show you that in a second. And then the other ones were just generic they used for the GameCube and the Super Nintendo. So see here, it says PlayStation 2 on the top. So we'll zoom in a little bit and we'll get to work on these and I'll show you what happens. So I tend to start with GooGone on these. Partially just because the thickness of the GooGone, just to kind of keep it simple, the thickness of the GooGone makes it easier to adhere. And you can see there, it still absorbs in the sticker and everything, but the way that it's because it's glycol based, it's going to adhere to the surface a little bit better and kind of do a little bit more damage digging in there. But I'll show you an interesting thing here that I had to do on these. So that's my GooGone and acetone scraper. And you'll notice I'm really not getting anywhere. The label itself was just too thick. And what I realized was this is an EB Games sticker in the top right corner. If this was a GameStop sticker, it'd be more paper-based and the GooGone would be able to eat into the paper and really dissolve everything. But since this is more plastic-based, as most EB Games stickers were back in the day, you don't really get a lot of capillary action underneath the paper and you don't get a lot of saturation underneath the paper. So you end up kind of fighting against the label itself. There's no way to get everything underneath it. So you see that I start off with GooGone. It doesn't really get the removal that I want to. So here I am wiping up the excess GooGone and I say, okay, I'm going to go in and use Heptane and see what Heptane does. This isn't an exact science. This is why you need a handful of tools that you can use to kind of go through and say, well, this didn't work, let me try something else. Well, this didn't work, let me try something else. I give it a second, and by this time, the Heptane, it should be just launching off the sticker and everything, and it's not, and I'm still just not getting the absorption that I want. And I'm not getting the adhesive removal that I want. So, this tells me that we got to do something a little more aggressive. Normally in these instances, if you can't just rely on your chemical alone, you have to get kind of creative. So you see here, I get kind of stubborn and I just keep going with a scraper. What I'll end up doing ultimately is taking a toothbrush to it and using GooGone heavily and a toothbrush to really scrape into the surface. You don't want to use anything tougher than a plastic scraper like I'm doing here, or a toothbrush like I'll do later on. Anything tougher than that, you're going to run the risk of denting the metal case of the steelbook, scraping the paint. You can run into a lot of things. So I just keep kind of hacking away with my scraper, just trying to get as much of the actual label off. So all that white stuff's the label. And I'm trying to get the majority of that paper off, because just soaking that paper with Goo Gone or Heptane or water to dilute it, whatever I'm going to try to do, so much of that's going to get absorbed in that paper. So the goal is to get rid of that and be left with what I have here, which is just the rough residue itself. Yeah, so see there, I'm adding more Goo Gone onto the surface and just letting it do its work for a little bit. It's not immediate. You just kind of let it do its work, soak in there, and try to get rid of it as much as possible. And then I said, well, let me try to add some Heptane on top of it. Here's the deal. This doesn't work. There's a little bit that I get rid of, and overall it looks like it wiped it up. But the problem is, did I wipe it up with the Goo Gone or did I wipe it up with Heptane? You don't really know. And you want to be careful when you're mixing these kinds of things. And most of the time it's going to be fine, but you just want to be careful when you're mixing cleaners. Realistically, and even watching this now again, realistically, I should have just put Goo Gone on it, let the Goo Gone do its work, and not try to rush it with the Heptane. It's dumb. So, but you learn these things. I hadn't done a Steelbook in ages when I did this video. So I'm going on to this get a gameplay guarantee EB Games sticker, which is the dumbest sticker in the world. And since they put it on the edge of the Steelbook has a raised bezel on the side of it that you can actually kind of pry up to get a good chunk of the label off. So I'm trying to peel it, and you want to be careful when you peel it because you don't want to pull off too much. You don't want to separate the backing of the label from the actual label itself, and then you end up with just a straight white layer. That's not going to work. So yeah, the trick here continues to be just getting up as much of the sticker as you can on an edge, on a couple of edges, and then with any luck you can try to pry it off. It sometimes works, doesn't always. I don't remember these gameplay guarantee stickers being very common. And maybe it was just an EB Games thing. I don't remember GameStop us ever having to do anything like this. But you can see that I just get so annoyed. I'm just going to cover the entire sticker in Heptane and see if I can keep scraping. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. I let it sit and I let it soak in, and I go back into it and you can see just nothing. I should be, as soon as I press into it, it should come right up, and it doesn't. And it's just infuriating because so right here, this right here, this is me using Heptane, which a lot of people say is my default. It's my goat. Here I am using Heptane, and here it is not working. Here it is just failing at what I want it to do. Dries too quick on metal. Man, that camera's wobbly. But you can also tell I'm getting annoyed, which is kind of funny. Just hacking away at it. And at this point, more than anything, the scraper's actually really doing the work. It's not the Heptane. It's the scraper getting in there and scraping everything up. But I keep at it. Because again, you want to get the bulk of the sticker off. So, just how mad I am in this. And you work your way around this, and the technique that I'm doing right now, and just the kind of constant scraping and battering of the sticker and the surface underneath and everything. You don't want to do this on a plastic case, obviously. You don't want to do this on a cardboard case, obviously. This is just for Steelbooks, and the reason that I'm having this problem is because of Steelbooks. Look, I soak a paper towel in Heptane, and I'm like, I'm going to soak it on here, and I'm going to let it dry, or I'm going to let it absorb in. And then watch what happens. You can see the little bit of residue right above the little guy's head. You can see a little bit of residue that's still there. And I still have to scrape. And even in the areas that I scrape, even with Heptane, the areas that I scrape, it's not getting rid of it. Look at that. So you can still see around the guy's head and everything. It's right there. It's still right there. Try more Heptane, because it didn't work before. You want to alter up your moves. You want to alter up what you do wiping wise, and you kind of want to go in like a sporadic kind of pattern, circles and angles and everything, because it'll pull up different edges and different corners and everything. But then I get done with it, and the thing that I'm realizing right now is that took way too long, and that took way too much effort to get that up. With my boy Heptane, it didn't do it. So I get out the GooGone, and I go, let me see. There's a little tiny bit of film, and I go, let me see if I can just get rid of a little bit of the film, the residue film that's still there. And I put the Heptane on, or I put the GooGone on. I give it a second. Yeah, and you can tell that it's just, in these instances, GooGone. I get a stiffer brush. This is an actual cleaning brush, and I just scrape. And I scrape in a bunch of different directions, and I angle the brush to get a sharper scrape. And I just scrape up as much as I can and brush as much as I can of the residue once it's been coated in GooGone. I let it sit for a little bit, and I go back, and that paper towel should have some GooGone on it, and I wipe it off. Yeah, and you can see on the, I'm pointing, like you can see that on the top left, you can see that there's a little bit of faint residue of GooGone just on the side. So trying to wipe it all over, and that took 2 seconds to get rid of it, just using the GooGone and a toothbrush. So to make sure that I'm not going crazy, I took more Heptane and I put more Heptane on top of the label, or on top of the packing tape residue, and I go in a circle. And watch, this fails. This just completely fails. This does nothing. It smears it around a little bit, but it doesn't get rid of anything. So see there, I'm like, it's smearing it. And I'm picking up some of the dirt, but honestly, I'm not picking up any of the residue. And again, because, you know, Heptane's supposed to be the cure-all, I go back to it with more Heptane, just trying to see if I can pull some stuff off. And I take the paper towel, and you can see right above the Ubisoft logo, you can see that, like, it's just smearing it. It's just smearing it. I'm pulling up some of the dirt that was on the packing tape residue, but it's just smearing it. Now I'm just dumping Heptane on the surface. And look at this. Watch. It still doesn't pull it up. So all that's residue. All that shadowing that you see on his shoulder and everything, that's all just residue. So I get back out the GooGone. And I go, okay. And it worked before, and it worked in a lot of different instances. The toothbrush worked really well. Let's go back on here and let's see if the GooGone can break up the residue on a Steelbook better. And so I coat the whole back. That's all now covered in adhesive residue because of me and my nonsense. The whole thing is now going to be covered in GooGone. I keep having to bring it back towards me because I have to close the cap because it's a taller bottle and I'm terrified I'm going to knock it over. So I get back out the toothbrush and I'm tapping it like I figured something out. And just go crazy with it. And you can see right over that little knife that he's holding in there, you can see that the shadowing and the fading that's coming from the adhesive is starting to go away. Same thing above the Ubisoft logo, it's starting to go away. And this is just the sign of GooGone actually working. This is the sign of GooGone doing what it needs to do. So yeah, this is GooGone working better than Heptane. And I'll admit it, I used to use GooGone all the time. And I still use GooGone for a lot of things because there are some instances where it is better. GooGone definitively, and you'll see at the end of this video, GooGone definitively is better than Heptane or isopropyl alcohol to clean Steelbooks. Okay? That's simple as that. So the people that say that I make fun of GooGone too much, or it's, yes, I make fun of it because it's such a trope, but at the same time, here's an instance where it worked. And it's part of the reason that I'm showing you this is that, yep, this works so much better. It's just some GooGone and a toothbrush to get rid of stickers on Steelbooks. Now, why Steelbooks are coming with stickers, I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. But here we go. So I get it all wiped up. You can see on the edge that there's still a little bit of adhesive residue. I'll get rid of that. The paper towel has a little bit of GooGone on it, and I'm just kind of spreading it over the whole surface. You can feel when you hit spots that still have residue, still have adhesive residue. You can feel those spots. So I'm going over it and trying to see if there are any other spots anywhere that I might have missed. It feels just like a little pulling on the paper. So it's looking good. It's looking clean. There's a little bit on the edge there that I'll get rid of. I check the front as well. and there's really nothing. I mean, again, the GooGone did the bulk of the work, just checking the edges, and there's a little bit on there. And now this paper towel is pretty well saturated in GooGone. A paper towel coated in GooGone is something that I relied on a lot. You'll see me use Q-tips because I can focus where I'm putting it on, but there were a lot of times I would just dab GooGone on a paper towel, wipe the whole surface, and get a really good clean. Now look at that. Doesn't that look nice now? I'd already checked the discs, but I figured I was here anyway. Yeah, and they all look really good. That's the funny thing. I keep getting a lot of these games that I've been buying lately, like collector's editions and limited editions and stuff. The games look flawless. And it's kind of like, did you buy this thinking that, in 10, 15 years, however long it's been since the game came out, that people were going to be like, oh my gosh, Chaos Theory limited edition. I love this game. Chaos Theory is regularly in my top 5. It's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic version. Oh, here we go. Okay. So ArmorAll. So I've showed this a couple of times. ArmorAll on Steelbooks. The steel case looks really nice right now. The Steelbook looks really good. But what I'm going to do is spray some ArmorAll onto a paper towel once I get it into focus. This is aesthetic. This is entirely aesthetic and cosmetic. This is not something that you have to do. This is something that you would want to do if you were taking a picture of it or something, or if you just wanted to show off, or if you're some jerk with a YouTube cleaning channel and wants to show off a dumb thing that you have always known how to do. Wipe it on, let it sit for a second, and then buff it off with a microfiber towel. And then you get almost a mirror finish out of it. It doesn't last very long. It lasts, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe, if that. But it's, if you're wanting to show off something, you can do this with Steelbooks. You can do this with DVD cases. You can do this with PS1 cases if you want to. A lot of them work. You can't really do it on cardboard unless the cardboard has laminate finish. So PC big boxes you can do it on. But it's a goofy thing. But yeah, so then I'll bring in Splinter Cell Chaos Theory for the Xbox. This one's a little more straightforward. This one just has the regular old GameStop stickers over the different price tags. They had one that must have been on the side for the evil side labels. There's some gunk on the front. But no, I love this game. I always loved the Splinter Cell series. I always thought it was a good mix of action and stealth, and the stealth was really tight. The soundtrack is fantastic. But then, so here, you'll see I go back to my old tricks, where I say I'm going to pull this off with some Heptane. What do you think? You think it's going to work? But this is the problem, is that you find a tool or you find a skill or a technique or something that works and you stick to it and you say that is the end all be all. It's the GooGone in a hairdryer mentality, or it's the isopropyl alcohol mentality, where people have a hard time breaking away from that mentality. You can see how much my camera has to shake because I'm scraping it so much. And it's not coming up the way that I would hope that it was. It's pulling up the label and it's pulling up the paper of the label, which is good, but it's leaving residue still. And it's just something about this plastic. Like, look at all the residue next to the X and the Xbox and everything. So using what I have learned previously, I say, okay, GooGone again. We'll GooGone, we'll put it down on a Q-tip, we'll let it sit, and we'll hit it with a toothbrush. Like I said, it's been ages since I've done a Steelbook. It's been ages since I've done the slipcover for the Steelbook. So I said, okay, well, if it worked on the Steelbook itself, let's see if we can try it on this here too. On my cleaning counter at all times is isopropyl alcohol, GooGone, and Heptane. And there's always usually more isopropyl alcohol and GooGone than there is anything else, because those two do the brunt of the work. Heptane is good for certain things, but man, oh man, GooGone makes it easy sometimes. Specifically GooGone, I have to do a list and kind of explain the different kinds of GooGone. There's GooGone, there's Goof Off, there's Crud Cutter, there's Undo. There's so many different ones, and you have to look at what the ingredients are and what makes it what it is. Some are petroleum glycol based, some are heptane based. So there are two versions of Undo, and I've never seen Undo where I am, but I know a lot of people have seen it before. I know it's something that's really common in Australia. There's two kinds of undo. There is an undo that is heptane based, and there's an undo that is virtually identical to Goo Gone. And there's two kinds, and they're both called undo, and they're both made by the same company, and they just use them for different things. But I need to make a list of these are all the cleaners that I like and I use, and this is why, and these are the different versions and everything. Goo Gone is great. There are other versions of Goo Gone that are also out there that are great. There is a Crud Cutter gel that I really like. There is a Crud Cutter liquid that is terrible. Most goof-offs are acetone based, so you don't want to use them on plastics because it's going to melt the plastics. So most goof-off, and goof-off is it's usually in metal cans, and it has a really strong smell. It's going to be your acetone-based stuff, and that's just going to melt plastic. It's going to melt plastic like crazy. You don't want to use that on 99% of the stuff involving gaming because it's just too aggressive. I say that, and then I'll probably make a video of how to use acetone to clean a CD drive or something. But yeah, so here we are. We're watching a video. Said it would never happen, but here we are watching a video of me using just Goo Gone to remove a label from a game case. They said it would never happen. Realistically, though, probably I got into Heptane 2015, 2016, I think. And prior to that, it was Goof Off for everything. It was Goof Off and Goo Gone for everything. Goof Off has a kind of Goo Gone variation. And Crud Cutter, too. There's a Crud Cutter that they sell at Lowe's that looks exactly like Goo Gone, and it actually works really well. It's a little bit thicker. I don't know if you guys know this, but I am way too into different kind of adhesive removers and how they work and what their base is and everything. It's just fascinating that you can go to a store and look on the shelf and there's a row of adhesive removers, and you look at every single one of them and the ingredients that are in them, and they're all night and day difference for totally different things. Heptane was used for document restoration and for rubber cement removing. If you don't know what rubber cement is, well, good, be glad, because it was a terrible thing back in the day. But rubber cement remover, that was the use of Heptane. Goof Off was used to get rid of paints, that kind of thing. So there's so many of these weird adhesive removers that are used for all kinds of different things. But so here we go again with the ArmorAll. Here we go again. It doesn't matter what kind of ArmorAll. I think I have Ultra Shine Protectant. You can just use regular ArmorAll. Usually what I'll do is if I run out of a bottle, yeah, it's Ultra Shine. If I run out of a bottle or if I'm running low on a bottle, I'll take it out of my car detailing kits and I'll put it down in the game room and just use it. I missed a spot. Did you see that? I sure did miss a spot. Look at that. I wonder if that's what I'm about to catch right now. Oh no, I'm just going to armor all over it. That's fine. This ArmorAll, I believe, is more silica based than some of the other ones. Oh my gosh, if I don't catch this by the end of the video, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to run downstairs and see what's going on. Most ArmorAlls are silica based, so it gives a little bit of shine, and it's temporary, it fades, but it's also just kind of a neat thing where if you were cleaning up a game to sell or something, throw a little ArmorAll on it. PC games, PC big box games with laminate surfaces, Steelbooks, DVD case games, just be careful around any soft paper. So your cover arts, your older PC games, your cardboard for Nintendo games, stuff like that. Just be careful around paper and just don't use ArmorAll on the paper because it'll soak it too much. But for everything else that has a plastic finish or a metal finish to it, go to town with the ArmorAll. Just make sure you buff it off, watch for overspray and everything, and you'll get some good results. Yeah, so there we go. Getting the edges cleaned up. Even though it's not going to matter because you're going to cover it with a slipcover, and the slipcover is going to make it look shadowy, but it's nice to see. And what I'm seeing here is there's a little bit of crackling on the paint itself because it looks like it's resting underneath. And I don't show it or anything, but it looks like it's resting underneath the printing So it's falling apart. Again, Steelbooks rust. That's what they do. Your Halo 2 copy is not supposed to look like that. If you have a copy of Halo 2 Steelbook and you look at it and it's a little rusty, it should not be. If you're like, oh, that looks weird, it shouldn't be. Yeah. So see, those are the two different cases. So there's a PlayStation 2 version, and then there was another version that they made. Oh, I see it now. I see it now. So they made a PlayStation 2 version that had PlayStation 2 printed on top. That's what would actually go on the shelf. And then they made an Xbox, GameCube, and I think PC. And the only difference was the slipcover, the manual, and the discs inside. Yeah, so there's slipcover going on there. You can clean the slipcovers. You can rinse them for the most part if you want to. If they're really filthy, you can rinse them and hit them with a paper towel. That kind of thing. And there's the GameCube one. Looking good. So that's just a little bit about cleaning Steelbooks. Thanks, guys.